I'm Vance Sebastian here alone today, bringing you this week's Written on the Edge Season 11, Episode 8 interview. I'm joined by Rob Osler to discuss his latest novel, The Case of the Murdered Muckraker. So, if you haven't seen any of his previous interviews with us, let me introduce him. Rob Osler writes traditional mysteries featuring LGBTQ plus main characters, believing that relatability is as important as representation. He strives to showcase our shared humanity across individual identities. Both books in Rob's historical The Harriet Morrow Investigates series are USA Today bestsellers, the first of which, The Case of the Missing Maid, earned a starred review from Publishers Weekly and is an Amazon editor's pick for Best Mystery, Thriller, and Suspense. And if you didn't hear it, click here because we interviewed him about that last time. His other works have been finalists for the Edgar, Anthony, Agatha, Lefty, and Macavity Awards, a Crime Reads Best of the Year, and a winner of the Mystery Writers of America Robert L. Fish Award. After living in Boise, Chicago, and Seattle, Rob resides in California with his husband and a tall gray cat. Rob, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
It's great to have you back. So, assuming that some of our listeners may not have heard your previous episodes, and if not, they should go listen, can you just give me a real quick what possessed you to take up writing? Like, where did that passion come from?
Yeah, I actually started as an ad copywriter, crazily enough. And I guess my claim to fame, if I have one, and it's a fragile claim, is is I wrote Cocoa Krispies commercials. This also dates me. Um,
It's awesome.
yeah. I guess I'm trying to also find new things to cover that are like, oh, that's interesting. You haven't heard that before. Yeah. I wrote Cocoa Krispies commercials and just a few what I think are fun facts. And if they're not fun, they're at least like strange. The voice of Coco was actually a British stage actor. And this is back in the day when we did cell animation. They were literally painting like 32 frames,
Right.
per second. And all done in London. So as a young 25-year-old, I got to go to London many times to work on Cocoa Krispies commercials. So I got my start in advertising in Chicago, the setting of the Harriet Morrow Investigates series.
Hmm.
That's the tie there. And then I eventually kind of made my way from advertising to this odd realm of marketing strategy, which is brand strategy. It's funny because sometimes people will like lock in on the cereal and then they hear brand and they're like, think BRAN
Hmm.
strategy. It's
Right,
like
right.
nutritional strategy or something. I'm like, no, 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 brand strategy. So then I was working in corporate America for places like Microsoft and a lot of corporate clients in corporate brand strategy and stuff. So then at some point, quite honestly, well into actually, I think I was like maybe 52. I don't mind sharing my age. Um, I got laid off from my boutique brand strategy consulting firm here in San Francisco. And that was the time where it's like, well, I got time on my hands. So I'm going to finally write that crazy murder mystery. And little did I know that it would honestly take like nearly like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And those stories never see the light of day. Every author, I mean, I should say most, some strike it gold, right? And everything, all the yeses just lined up, and it's this beautiful golden path to publication. That's not the story of most. I mean, it's just not.
Right.
Um, and so I just slowly made my way, writing books, refining manuscripts, querying the bejesus out of agents, and so fast forward, and now here we are chatting, and I've got those two books.
Hmm.
Muckraker came out. I shorthand the Maid and Muckraker.
Okay.
Muckraker came out just 3 weeks ago. It too received a starred review in Publishers
Nice.
Weekly, and it too is a USA Today bestseller right out of
Nice.
the gate. So, but it is not. It's more, I think, truly like a testament to either craziness or just tenacity.
Hmm.
Hopefully they're good books, right? I sure try. I think most authors really try, but it's just a lot of, I'm not going to give up kind of thing. So
Right.
that's where we are.
So, just a quick dip into the craft of it.
Yeah.
Commercials are stories. Like you're telling, how long are they? 15-second, 30-second stories?
15, 30 seconds,
Yeah.
usually. Yeah.
So, how did it feel going from those very condensed, where you have to get all the information into that short period of time, to a form where you actually have the space to fill in the gaps? I mean, how did that feel for you?
I'm so glad that we got on this this path because I have a really interesting insight now to lock this up with something else that's coming here in 1 second.
Okay.
But I would say the first thing is, man, I had and I still do really have to work with impatience because it's like I would be done. First off, that world is speed,
Hmm.
right? I mean, you always have deadlines. You never have enough time to do all the stuff that, everybody's expecting you to do. And as you say, it's like they're 15 or 30 seconds. It's like, let's be snappy. So now I've got like 85,000 words. You know, it's like they're all available on audiobook. Nicole Zanzarella, who's the audio narrator, does a fantastic job, by the way. But it's like, if you listen to those, they're like 9 and 10 hours,
Uh-huh.
right? So 30 seconds to like 10 hours of content, that's about as big of a shift as you can get. So I think back and I just kind of chuckle at my own naivete of like writing the first manuscripts. And it seems, and I see this in some aspiring, new authors of like, I got my manuscript done. I'm at 65,000 or 75,000 words. I'm done. I'm submitting to authors. And you're like, or agents. And I'm like, oh,
Oh, child.
maybe. Yeah, it's really unlikely that you're not at all ready.
Right.
So it was really just sitting with a page, sitting with a scene, sitting with a sentence, sitting with a word, right? And I'm not doing literary fiction,
Hmm.
It's like, you're really, really, really fine tuning and, every sentence is like you're trying to, be as artful as you can at the sentence level. I'm
Hmm.
just trying to tell a good story.
Right.
The insight I was suggesting a moment ago is I just organized a flash fiction event at the dawn of this year's Left Coast Crime Conference, which is going on right now in San Francisco.
Nice.
And so with flash fiction, it's 1,000 words or less, and it
Hmm.
was my first time doing it. And a number of the authors who kindly accepted my invitation to join that event were like, "Oh, wow, I was a little daunted by flash fiction. Have you ever done flash fiction?" And I'm like, it felt pretty, no problem. I mean, I don't mean to like, I'm so gifted I can just, snap out these stories.
But you've got that training.
I think that's why. And I've never really thought about it that it's like, oh no, for years, or it's a brochure or it's a radio spot that's 30 or 60 seconds
Hmm.
that, no, I got to tell this compact story and you got to keep it simple,
Hmm.
right? No multi-characters, one point of view. I mean, there's certain things that I believe that, you can do in 1,000 words or less. Um, but yeah, I haven't thought about that, but I think that's why.
Nice. So let's talk about Harriet. Um, I have the privilege and honor of having heard and talked to you about book one as well as digging into it myself. I want readers to know who Harriet is before we talk about book two, because she's such an amazing character.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, to start, I would say Harriet is 3 times the outsider. That's the first thing to know about her. Even before the demographics of like age and all that, and I'll quickly tell you that. But for me, it's number one, Harriet is we meet Harriet on her first day as a detective
Hmm.
at the Prescott Agency, which is a fictional agency that I kind of modeled after the famed Pinkerton Agency,
Right.
which started several decades before. This time frame is in Chicago, 1898, at the Prescott Agency. Harriet, first off, she's an outsider because she's living as a woman and trying to make a career for herself in 1898,
Right.
right? So think about this. We're 22 years before the passing of the 19th Amendment granting women suffrage, the right to vote.
Hmm.
This is a man's world. So she's an outsider simply by being a woman with aspirations outside the home. Two, she's an outsider because she has the audacity to believe she can be a detective. Now, isn't so outrageous. One of the things that I think authors of historicals in those times deal with is you like to have your characters bold and, maybe pioneering in some sort of way or realm, but it has to be believable, right? If you crush all believability, you're just going to get an eye roll from the reader and they're going to put the book down.
Hmm.
There was a lady detective named Kate Warren in the 1850s who was first hired by Alan Pinkerton. And then, this is just before the start of the Civil War, and she was integral in infiltrating the Confederacy by going undercover, as other women did. So women detectives were actually quite critical in the Civil War time. She kept on. She proved so successful that Alan Pinkerton then created a whole bureau of women detectives called the Lady Pinks. So anyway, it wasn't outrageous that Harriet had heard about Kate Warren
Uh-huh.
and had this aspiration. The way she was outsider number three is she's a lesbian. And, this is before lesbian was really even a term in the public consciousness, let
Right.
alone that there were, queer people running around Chicago or any other city. So that's Harriet. She's 21 years old. Her parents have passed away. She is the surrogate parent for her brother Aubrey, who's 16. Now that she's come into her majority, she's able to inherit the family's very modest apartment where she returns with her brother Aubrey. And so she's trying to find her way as a lesbian woman without any, there's no L word, there's no Will and Grace, there's no
Right. No.
Randy Carlisle. There's no reference point in her life. She's also trying to deal with her brother, who's, like 16 and missing his parents, and you're my sister, not my mom.
Hmm.
And she's got the audacity to try to be a detective, so she's got it coming at her always, and we see how she fares.
Nice. So tell me about book two, which I don't know about yet, but I love the title, The Case of the Murdered Muckraker.
Yeah, so one of the things that is great about the progressive era, 1890 to 1920, is we're, fueled by about a century of the industrial age. So you've got urbanization, you've got a growing, stable middle class. So the progressives were a lot of middle class folks in America, predominantly in the urban setting, who finally had the opportunity to look right and left across society and go, wow, we got a lot of political corruption. Wow, we got child labor. We have a lot of these immigrants living in tenements and squalid living conditions. We've got the Union stockyards, which are miles and miles of the most horrible working conditions you've ever seen, made famous by a muckraker, Upton Sinclair, in the jungle,
Yes, that's
right?
right.
If you've
You're
heard about that.
right. I had not made that connection.
Right? So muckrakers were the OG investigative journalism of journalists. That term became fixed and is still associated with the progressive era,
Hmm.
right? So you had muckrakers on, fueled by the philosophy of the progressives in the progressive era who sought to practice journalism and expose political corruption primarily, but
Hmm.
they also exposed working conditions, child labor, all sorts of things. Ida B. Wells, who makes an appearance in book three, the case of the swindled suffragist, muckraker,
Did you just
famous,
drop a spoiler?
yeah, I mean, famous muckraker, Ida B.
Yes.
Wells, in exposing lynching in the South until they burned down. Her magazine was Free Speech, and the Ku Klux Klan burned it down in Memphis. So then she moved to New York and then on to Chicago. So
Oh,
muckraker, I was really intrigued. Just first off, I love the word muckraker.
yes.
I like to pick different issues that existed in the progressive era and use them to surround a crime that is relevant to the time.
Hmm.
And through her investigation and through her eyes, I can kind of poke at some of those interesting societal ills that, still exist today manifest in a different way.
Uh-huh.
And kind of, I mean, frankly, that's an exposing of my agenda is I want to talk about those things, but not in a contemporary sense, because frankly, I got the New York Times to bum me out, you know?
Hmm.
So, so Muckraker, Harriet, Harriet goes undercover as a settlement house worker, which were basically, community centers of the time, trying to help immigrants, of which Chicago in 1890, 60% of the population were immigrants or children born of immigrants. Fast forward a decade in 1900, three-quarters of the population of the city of Chicago, which was 1.7 million people, were either the children of immigrants or immigrants. Where did they all go? Largely in tenements. So the muckraker is found murdered in a tenement. What's he doing there? People are who live in those tenements, the residents are very wary of authorities. So Harriet goes undercover as a settlement house worker to infiltrate, not in a bad way, but to try to figure out from the residents who won't talk to authorities or a male detective,
Mm.
try to crack open the case and find out what he was doing there because he's said to have the dirt on a dirty politician.
Stop me if I'm getting close to spoiling the novel.
Hmm.
Does she figure out the dirt and then pursue the politician herself? Or does she stick to
More,
the murder?
no, she sticks to solving the murder,
Okay.
but it takes her in many different directions.
Okay.
So what starts out as a murder quickly threatens to be a war. It's much bigger than she could have ever imagined, and that her boss, Theodore Prescott, could have ever imagined, because otherwise he probably would have thought twice about sending in such a novice detective.
Right. Right. All right. So we can all doom scroll on modern corruption.
Right.
What does corruption in the progressive era look like?
Oh my goodness. It is stranger than fiction.
Really?
Yeah, so the red light district, we all know what the red light district is, home to brothels and saloons and
Hmm.
gambling dens. At that time, at that time it was called the Levy District in Chicago. Again, think late 1890s. That
Levy
was
as in like the protection against the river
Yeah, but
or
yeah,
taxes?
and the river was there. Actually, I won't even pretend to know that answer.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know. No, but that's good. It's like I need to know that. I mean, it was I don't even know if the first ward really bordered the Chicago River. It
Okay.
may have. I doubt it's taxes, but it may be. Anyway, I'm going to look into that.
Okay.
Okay, but the Levy District, which was also the first ward, there were two first ward aldermans. So now we're talking real life at that time.
Sure.
One was Hinky Dink, um, Mike Kenna, and the other was Bathhouse John Coughlin.
Okay.
Bathhouse John got his name because he was a masseuse at a bathhouse before he became an alderman. They were notoriously corrupt.
Hmm.
In fact, they had a infamous annual First Ward ball that turned into an orgy. And this was well known. And if I read anything, it'd be this. I've got this at the ready in case we got to this. This was the Chicago Tribune, right? So like
Okay.
think
The
think
city
think yes,
paper.
yesterday's New York Times talking about the First Ward ball that is widely associated with these two elected public officials. If a great disaster, and this is held in this huge building called the Coliseum.
Okay.
If a great disaster had befallen the Coliseum last night, there would not have been a second-story worker, a dip or pub ugly, porch climber, dope fiend, or scarlet woman remaining in Chicago. So it was well known and documented that these guys were so corrupt. And just to unravel some of that, second story worker is a burglar.
Yep.
They're crawling the second story. A dip is a pickpocket.
Oh,
A
okay.
publicly is a gangster. A porch climber is another way to say a burglar climbing
Okay.
over the porch. Dope fiend and Scarlet Woman. Everybody knows what that is.
Right.
So it was notorious that these guys were corrupt. They owned a lot of the saloons, the brothels. They would extort money. And so I created Irish Dan Walsh and another alderman that's corrupt. I created my own two modeled after the real two
Mm-hmm.
that Harriet must do battle with. Saloon Mickey, Mike Powers are my two. right? And I get this, it's like, ooh, that's very, if that's at all interesting idea, it's like, oh, it's completely stolen from reality and then just made fictionalized.
Sidebar, my camera just turned off.
I see that. Oh, there you are.
All right. If that happens again, I might unplug it and plug it back. And that won't have to like stop the recording, but I'll unplug it and plug it back in.
Yep.
Um, unsidebar, you were talking about your two guys.
I'm not sure where to start.
It's okay. So I have to ask this because I live near enough to Chicago that I've been there a lot.
Yeah.
Um, how much of the rest of the city, like, do you keep it centered to just these two aldermen, or do you bring in sort of the rest of this big conglomerate of city? Because Chicago was a lot even
Yeah.
back then.
It was a lot back then. No, I have her explore, my visual is like tentacles,
Hmm.
right? So like another place that she goes are the German gymnasiums, right? We've got a huge influx of immigrants, be they Irish, Poles, Italians, all of English from all over Europe. Well, the Germans brought this philosophy of athleticism and community called Vorwärts. Um, Turnvereins. Turnverein is just think German gymnasium, and they were shorthanded as Turner Halls. There were as
Okay.
many in Harriet's day. There were 54 of them with 5,000 members. So, without spoilers, at some point, Harriet finds herself at a Turner Hall, and there's all these people. They're fencing, they're doing gymnastics, and she'd never been in one before.
Hmm.
One exists today still, and that's the one depicted, Voiwart's Turner Hall, in the book. If it's a real place, like if it's City Hall, if it's this Voiwart's Turner Hall, it's going to be, the Palmer House, which still exists today. I'm going to try to get that right in terms of the descriptions and how it looked at the time, where it was at the time.
All right. Nice. So if she's taking care of her brother, does she have anybody else in her little family?
She does, I mean, I think even in a contemporary sense, queer writers are drawn to, the idea of found family and a
Hmm.
sense of community. And because Harriet, as I described her on the onset, is three times the outsider, I didn't want her journey in life to just be a total bummer, quite
Right.
honestly. I wanted to give her some some love, right?
Hmm.
So she's got her brother, that's a contentious relationship, as you can imagine, if you're both trying to play, parent and sibling, and you're older, and he's a boy and you're a girl. It's like that. She's got a surrogate grandmother in this older woman named Pearl Bartlett, who is the employer of the maid who is missing in book one.
Got it.
And Pearl is in her 70s, and Pearl is really a firecracker. And so they become friends. So she's got Pearl in her life
Okay.
to give her some adult, kind of parental love with her parents out of the scene. And then she's got a colleague, Matthew McCabe, who we learn early on is queer. And that's a little bit of a spoiler, but it comes out so soon in book one that, and so she's really kind of got those three people. And then there's a love interest um, in book one and two, and we'll kind of see where that goes.
Hmm.
But but it was important to me to give her some true family, still
Right.
one person, and then some found family, um, who can help her work through the case from an emotional standpoint. Because we all come home or we get on the phone, and talk to friends about like a crappy day at work. There's somebody that you need to unload with,
Hmm.
even if it's not for guidance or counsel, even if it's just like, I just need you to shut up and listen to me for 5 minutes. I just got to get, the steam out of my pot. She needs those people in her life.
Right. Well, and the reason I asked is all warriors, and I'm using that term very loosely,
Hmm.
all heroes, let me say it that way, all heroes need to have something they care enough about to protect that they continue to do their job.
Yep.
So she's got this circle of love that even though they're not in the crosshairs, they ground her and give her the reason to care about the people who are hurt, the people who did die and don't have a voice. And it I asked that because she's so complex. I just wanted to dive into some of the other pieces of complexity that aren't necessarily murder plot.
That is so right. There really are kind of two stories going on at the same time. And I mean, even like right down to the craft level, if we can call it that,
Hmm.
I will kind of move between investigation chapter
Hmm.
and Harriet real life chapter. The Harriet real life chapters are not completely void of the investigation because she carries that between her ears, page after page after page. She's always thinking about that.
Hmm.
But she's got other stuff going on in her life that she has to grapple with and deal with. And so that's that other story running alongside the investigation for me is real life and adds the texture and, as you described it, the complexity of character to her, because real life is messy, right? And it's complicated, and we don't get to just do. I love this. I love writing, and I come up with stories and trying to craft them well. It's not the only thing that I enjoy, and it's not the only thing I get to do
Right.
after this. Just to keep it real, people, right? Brian, my husband, just before he went off to the airport, it's like, we're out of toilet paper. So before you go back to your Left Coast Crime Conference, I think you want to like go to Safeway. You know, it's like we have nothing but those kind of moments throughout our day. So it's
Uh-huh.
like, sure, she can go off and like get on her bicycle and it's like, I'm solving crimes. I'm living my best life. This is awesome. I got this chance.
Hmm.
But then she's got to go home and it's like, seriously, all I want is a shower and you just used up all the hot water, right? It's like we got real lives and
Yep.
I think it keeps it real.
Well, again, so dipping into the craft side, there's something else in crime series specifically can feel episodic in that the crimes are standalone in the book. This crime
Mhm.
happens, it is solved. Sometimes there's a master villain over a couple, but for the most part, the crime is one book.
Pretty contained. Yeah.
But their life story is the plot of the series.
That's absolutely right. That's
It's
absolutely right.
it's the thing that
I'm going to
carries
steal
through.
that. That's a really good way of
Please,
describing
please
it.
do, because
Yeah,
it
that's
it
absolutely
is
right.
the story thread that carries through each and every book of a series.
Right. Right. I mean, case of the missing maid, that case is solved.
Hmm.
Case of the missing murdered muckraker, when you get done to page 310, whatever it is, mystery solved, right?
Right.
Number three, number four, there's going to be six of these under contract so far. So I know,
Yes.
six. So, you're absolutely right. Those need to be tied up.
Hmm.
Hopefully not before, page 280, but they get tied up. But Harriet lives on. Her
Yes.
relationship with Pearl, her relationship with Matthew, does her relationship with Barbara, her sweetheart. Matthew, Aubrey, her 16-year-old brother in book three, he's now 18.
Mm.
Okay, what is that about? He doesn't, it's like, when they start out, she doesn't really understand she's queer. He doesn't. How
Right.
does that work? So
Yep.
you're absolutely right. That is the arc of the series
Hmm.
that I think about. The murders are actually pretty, or honestly, easier to deal with. I mean, they're murder mysteries, so you have to plant clues and have
Hmm.
suspects and all of that, which is, you got to think about.
Oh yeah.
But thinking about how they move as a cast forward, and you have to lose some people or kind of dial them back in certain books. They all can't be at the forefront. Some step forward, in a particular scene or book.
Hmm.
Some step back. Some leave the cast. You introduce new cast members. You got to keep it fresh, but keep it moving.
Yep. Love it. All right. Is there anything else about the case of the murdered muckraker that I didn't ask but you want readers to know?
Uh, I would just say, well, the one thing that I always find fascinating, and we've talked about this a bit, but is bicycling. Um, she's depicted, and this is dear to my heart, and I'm in lockstep with the art director and the illustrator at Kensington, although the illustrator's a freelancer, that her bicycle be on the cover as well as Harriet, because she does her investigation by bicycle. This was just a bit of serendipity in that when I first put her on a bicycle, I just loved the image of her in her bowler hat, just riding a bicycle
Yes.
around. Chicago. It's a pretty effective way because the streets are so clogged.
Hmm.
What I learned was bicycling. There was no craze in America more wild in the 1890s
Hmm.
bicycling.
Yep.
5,000 people were bicycling. The bicycle show, the third bicycle show in 18, I'm full of facts, 1894 attracted 100,000 people. There were no less than, oh, now I don't want to say the number, but if I say 75, that's for sure not an overstatement. Bicycle makers
Hmm.
in the city of Chicago. It was seen as a real form of women's liberation. There was
Yes.
actually a really great book I have on like women in bicycling, teaching women how to ride a bicycle
Uh-huh.
and not to be afraid. And then bloomers came to the fore
Hmm.
as a better way to ride a bicycle. That's why Harriet, you know, she hates to wear skirts for many reasons, but none more so than trying to ride a bicycle,
Right.
although she has a swooped frame. So bicycling was just a huge, huge, huge craze until, of course, the automobile came along, and
Yeah.
then cycling became not as popular.
Right.
But bicycling,
Nice. Well, are you ready for this year's Get to Know You questions?
I am,
All
I
right.
think. All right, let's go.
What book, film, or piece of art has had the biggest influence on your writing style?
Two, and I'll do it quickly. The first is Amistad Maupin's Tales of the City series, and it's because of that found family aspect
Hmm.
that there's always like, and that became a long-running series. There's always some aspect of a main plot going on book to book. But the found family and, whether it's Anna Madrigal or whoever it is, they travel, with Marianne Singleton
Hmm.
um, through the journey. The other is Amy Stewart's Cop Sisters series, which was a great series about a woman deputy sheriff in New Jersey in the World War One time, and I that was just really influential of like how she did exactly what we were just talking about.
Hmm.
Each one is a standalone with a crime to solve, but the arc of the three sisters over the series, I just thought was so effective, and I read them all. I was excited every time they came out, so I try to use that as a bit of inspiration.
Love it. Well, what fictional or historical character would you invite to march with you at a pride parade?
Who did I write down for that? I don't know. All right, well, let me just wing it. I don't, maybe I missed that one. Who would I invite to March? Oh, what about Ida B. Wells?
Nice. Good choice.
Yeah. She's, she is a bold, courageous character. Yeah, why not?
And
Okay, but sure, why
getting
not?
her take on where we are today would be astounding.
Right? I mean, that would be it. I mean, I don't know if it might be really depressing.
Also
It's like,
true.
really? You've had 127 years. This is what you've got to show for it. I mean,
You,
good Lord.
she'd also be swift enough to figure out that we did well and we're backsliding.
I know. It's yeah, it's very interesting to like
Mhm.
work on this history, and every time I come up with something, I'm like, there is just, like here's what's happening today, as soon as
Yep.
I find out what was happening then.
Yep. All right. If your protagonist, Harriet, had to survive a gay bar karaoke night, what song would she belt out?
Okay, because this is historical, I was
Uh-huh.
really challenged. So, okay, the answer is she would get on stage with a megaphone and she would sing After the Ball.
Oh.
After the Ball is, I'm just going to do the quick stanza. After 1892, most successful song of the era. After the ball is over, after the break of morn, after the dancers leaving, after the stars are gone. Many a heart is aching, if you could read them all, many the hopes that vanished after the ball.
Mm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And that's because, the gay clubs were it for them and they
Yep.
had a ball. So
Yep.
after the ball, it's like they got to go back to life, go back into the closet. Very touching.
Yep. All right. What is a place, real or imagined, that feels like home to you and why?
Seattle, Washington. I went to college. I left Boise and I went to college. That's always a magical time to like leave home. So the Seattle area, I love the water. I love the mountains. Don't love the rain, but the rain makes everything green.
Right.
Yeah, I love the mountains, the ferns,
Hmm.
fir trees.
My husband grew up about a half an hour north of the California border in Oregon. So it's the same thing. The mountains, the redwoods meet the ocean, and the Rogue River comes flowing through there. It is magic.
It is beautiful.
What is the strangest or most unexpected place you've ever found inspiration for a story?
Um, the Boise, Idaho, where I grew up, the east end of town, there's a plaque talking about the natatorium, which was this amazing indoor swimming pavilion in the late 1800s. I created a story which still exists called The Nat, short for natatorium.
Hmm.
And the star of that book was Harriet Morrow. So it got put aside. Harriet really took stage in the case of the missing maiden. We'll see if we can ever retool that and have her go to Boise to solve a
I'm
crime.
gonna say
Maybe book six.
you could make it a whole train adventure.
She goes by train because how else?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, stuff happens on the train.
nice. Well, what themes or motifs do you find yourself returning to again and again in your work?
Social justice.
I was gonna
So
say political corruption and immigration in this one. Beautiful.
yeah, every time it's almost like I can pick, and I think about this like almost like two or three at the most hashtags,
Yep,
hashtag immigrant rights, hashtag, political corruption, hashtag social justice kind of thing.
right. All right. Final question. What's a piece of LGBTQ plus culture? It could be music, film, art, history, but one that always inspires you.
Gay bars.
Yeah?
By gay bars, I mean, for the boys or the girls or the trans community, just the bar, because you can go to a small town and you'll find, there is one, usually,
Yeah.
I haven't surveyed them all, right? And it's like those are places of community that are just relatively, certainly, by comparison, safe havens and just they're places of community.
Hmm. They are.
Yeah.
I mean, and when I was a young boy in college, that was where I found myself and my friends.
Right. For me too, it's the first time you open up the door.
Hmm.
We've seen this in countless movies and books. That moment, it's like, the 17-year-old, or maybe he shouldn't be going to the bar. The 21-year-old or 18, depending on the state, right? Where you go in and you're like, what is this? You
S-
know?
Full disclosure, I graduated high school early. My first college experience in a bar, I was 17.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm so old, right? It's like, it's probably now, it's like, people are looking at videos and, it's a whole different world. But for me,
It is.
still,
But
there,
videos don't form a community.
right?
I mean, that they just don't. That's
They
where those
just,
bonds are made.
we still need to be in the same room
Yeah, we do.
at
We do.
some point, right?
You made it through my list. Bravo. So you've teased me that not only is book three upcoming, but there are six in the series. I was going to ask what you're working on, but I think I can guess.
Yeah, I'm working on book four. Book three, the
Life cycle of publishing.
yeah, the roadmap to these is very long. So I'm almost done. I know how it's going to end with book four. I also have a new series that's contemporary that comes out. The book one comes out next summer,
Oh, neat.
featuring a gay executive butler whose zeal for order and discipline has lethal consequences. And book one takes place at a villa on the banks of Lake Como in Musso, Italy.
Ooh.
Yeah, unreliable narrator. The first, because I love this, the first sentence in the book is the butler did it. And if I did my job right, then the reader will spend the next, 300 some pages
Figuring out what the butler did.
wondering if that is true or not. And it's
Awesome.
told through the perspective of the butler. And we sold it to my same editor publisher as a standalone. And then my editor called me, my agent called me to say, well, they want a series out of this. And I'm like, what? Okay, that's good, I guess. But it's like, I didn't write it. I wrote Harriet as a series. I
Uh-huh.
wrote that as a standalone. But so yeah, so I've got to come up. I've got to do another. His name is Clive Humphrey. I have to do another Clive book here in a while.
Neat. I love it.
We've got a lot of stuff going on.
Sounds like it. So, Harriet's only been out in the world 3 weeks. Do you have other appearances and interviews for her coming up? I'm sorry,
Oh,
I
I
should have said
do.
I should have said Muckraker.
Yeah, no, 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 it's all good. I have a lot actually. Kensington's very good to me. So without rattling them all off, because there are about a dozen different bookstores and libraries coming up.
Hmm.
I've already done some. RobOsler.com, and
Perfect.
there's
I
a
was
whole events page.
just gonna ask.
And seriously, it's like I love it if you come out because they always set up like 40 chairs, and you're like, oh Lord, I don't have 40 friends in this town. I hope somebody comes, to be honest.
Well, name a couple towns so that listeners in that area can immediately jump on your website.
Sure. Washington, D.C., Richmond, Virginia, New York, New York, Madison, Milwaukee, Chicago,
Nice.
Minneapolis,
Nice.
Lidditz, Pennsylvania, Allentown. Y'all come.
Perfect. All right, folks, you
Baltimore.
you heard it. RobOsler.com. Go check the events page.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, do you have any final words of wisdom for us?
Stay sane. No
Rob,
King's March coming up.
yes.
Stuff like that, do what you can.
Yes, bravo. Folks, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to Rob Osler for joining me here today. Rob, thank you so much, and thank you for your flexibility.
Oh, all good. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me back.
Our
Oh, that's good.
pleasure. All right, folks, we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. If you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. Our show was produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.roguepodcast.com. Tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Oh, what's that? Closing time. The bums rush in Melody, dear.